Don't let the devil steal your joy. How's your joy? Hi, I'm Thomas William Gardner, and I just wanted to talk to you today about joy. Joy is available on many levels. In Galatians 5:22-23, the fruits of joy are the fruits of the Spirit are love, peace, joy, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance. Against such there is no law. In my opinion, if you have your health and you have the fruits of the Spirit, life is good. Life is good. But really, what is joy? How do you feel it? What's joy in your life? If I was to ask you what gives you joy, I'm sorry to say, but most people would say this. Well, what gives me joy is to make more money and to get ahead. And I understand that. A lot of people feel that way because they work really hard, they try really hard, and they want to achieve. Remember when you went to high school and you're in high school and you go, okay, I'm here and they're teaching me that I need to achieve and I need to do better and I need to do well and I'm ready. And then you graduate and you're ready to just take the world on. You're ready to lead and you want to achieve and you go out into the world and you try so hard and you try so hard. But does that give you joy? You say, well, I'm making more money. Some people become very successful and they commit suicide. And other people become very successful and they seem to do just fine, but they struggle. They seem to, if I just could make more money, if I could just have more land, if I could just have more things, if I could just have more toys, the one with the most toys in the end is the winner. And they kind of take on that mentality, but they kind of forget what joy really is. I know that I've always been careful about this because when I got married and my wife and I decided that we were going to, really go to church and really study and we wanted to make our marriage work and we thought that that was the answer. When we did that, had a different mindset. We got baptized together at about 21 and we had a different, mindset on life and everything. And we wanted to do well, of course, but we didn't want the devil to steal our joy. And we had seen that in so many places, so many times with so many other people. And what I mean by that is you work hard and all of a sudden, you and your wife grow apart and you don't see things eye to eye and you leave each other. Or one of you grows apart because they get so wrapped up in their business and their business becomes their first love. And these things happen too. So how do you keep your joy and what really is joy? And joy is not money. Now, money, we need to make money. We need to live, right? But when I get down to it and I thought about what joy really is, what makes me laugh, what makes me smile? Let's just talk about that for a little bit so that we really understand what joy is. I know a lot of you are out there saying, well, I know what joy is. Do you? I don't know. I think some people do. I think really some people don't. I really do. And I think that what they do is they take their goals and their goals become their joy and then they become disappointed. And we need to get our goals. Don't get me wrong. But this is what I had to do because you have to look at it this way. You have to look at it from a backwards point of view sometimes. And what if your heart got broken and you were joyful and everything was good and you couldn't believe how well everything was going, but your heart got broken? Where's your joy? What do? How do you get it? Maybe you work harder. Maybe you work more. Maybe you stop eating and maybe you just start working more and then you just eat once in a while and then you get sick and you wonder why you're sick and it starts to enter into everything and you go, well, what's wrong? Well, I'm just not happy. I just don't feel good. I don't know. I just don't seem to care. And people get there and they need counseling to get out of it. Well, what did you do? How did you get through it? Well, see, that's my point. Sometimes you have to go back to the Beatitudes. You have to go to Matthew 5, 1 through 11, and you have to read that over and over again. Those verses give you balance in your life, and you understand how Jesus feels about us. And once you've got those feelings and you've got that balance, then you're going to take a few deep breaths and say, I feel better about things. Okay, I've got some peace, joy, peace. I've got some peace. And when you have peace, it's easier to have joy. Now, the reason I say that is when you're in trouble and things aren't going well, a lot of times what will help you is going back to the Beatitudes and reading that over and over and over again. When I was real young and doing what a young man does and being a little high strung sometimes, and I had a problem with my temper for a while till I was about 21. And it wasn't a good thing at all. And I read the Beatitudes, and I would read them. And I remember one time I read them like 21, 22 times in a row. And I would think on things. And I started looking at life differently. I could tell you more stories about it too, but that's not where I'm really going. What I really wanted to talk to you is about your joy and realizing what your joy is. You may think that, hey, I'm making more money than I did last year and I'm doing pretty good. And I'll be happy anytime now, and yeah, I'll go to those parties with you and everything. But that's not going to give you joy. Most of the times you get disappointed at those parties anyway. I mean, most people do. So what am I talking about? What is joy? Well, for some people, it's just going fishing and talking with somebody. And then for other people, like me, I might lay down in the yard and there's a bunch of puppies and I start playing with them. I start laughing and I watch them wrestle around and bite each other and run from each other and roll around. And before you know it, I'm laughing for no real reason at all. I just find it funny. I find it humorous. Or maybe there's kittens and the kittens are wrestling with their toys. And then they're hiding from each other and they jump out and they dive on the other kitten and there they are. And before you know it, for no reason at all, I'm laughing. Or you're with one of the cats or some kittens out in the kitchen and you drop ice cubes on the floor and they start chasing them all around. Before you know it, you're thinking that's like so funny. And this joyfulness comes into you. I'll watch television and sometimes I'll try to find a documentary and I'm hunting for baby animals. Have you ever been watching TV and you saw a baby hippo and he's trying to act like his mom? It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I don't know what there is about a baby hippo, but so funny to me. Or a baby rhino, and then he's got that big snout and he puts his nose up in the air and he tries to act like he's in charge. But, there his mother is gigantic and there he is walking by his mother. Or a baby elephant walking in between his mother and his father, trying to hold on to him. Really cute, really great. Or a baby whale swimming beside his mother. It's beautiful. And it's joyful. It makes me feel good to see it. I remember one time we were in New England and we went whale watching. I went twice. My wife went 3 or 4 times. And it was just great. But the one time I ran over to the side of the deck and this big whale came up, and the whale, she opened up her eye on one side there, and she could see me with her one eye, and she was looking at me and I was looking at her, and we were about 30 feet from each other. And I just thought, wow, what she could do to this diesel charter ship that we're on, what she could do to it. Wasn't that big if she wanted to. And all of a sudden the baby came up beside her. And then everybody started running over to that side where I was, and I was staring. And I remember the feeling, it was like no other feeling I ever had. It was like a joyful feeling. It wasn't like when you look at your daughter or you look at your your grandson when they're born or a newborn. It wasn't like that. And it wasn't like when you win a game. It was another feeling, another total feeling, something that huge. And they're focusing on you and you're focusing on them. And there's an understanding. And she's allowing her baby to be seen by everybody. And she was perfectly fine with it, as if she knew that everybody was excited to see her baby. And I know it sounds silly, but that was joy. That was joyful for me. Don't let the devil steal your joy. It's very important. My wife and I had a really great marriage. We've always had a great marriage. And things were going real good for us. And I was about 31 years old at the time. And my wife went jogging with me, and we jogged, and we had went about 3 miles. And I said, I can't jog no more today. I'm going to go home and lay down. And she said, well, I want to finish up. I want to do some more. And I said, okay, I'll see you at home. So she jogged more. I don't know how much more she jogged. I don't know if she jogged another mile or two or what. But anyway, she came home, and the next morning when she got up, everything was fine. Everything was fine. Our life was fine. And the next morning when she got up, her right side was numb. And she started dropping things, and she couldn't walk very well. And I thought she had a stroke. I thought, well, maybe yesterday that turned into a stroke because maybe she did too much or something, because we were trying to be on a health kick, and we were trying to be in shape and everything, and maybe she took it too far yesterday. I just wondered. And we went to specialists, and it was terrible. I'd never seen her like that before. And you'd be in the store, and she'd be crying, and she would drop milk on the floor, and she thought she was holding on to it. Milk would be all over. And then I'd tell her, it's okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll get it taken care of. Don't worry, it's going to be all right. She said, but I thought I was holding it. And finally, the specialist tells you and her to sit down, and he says, she's got multiple sclerosis. And then you go, wow, what does that mean? What do we do now? And he tells you, and the prognosis is terrible. And what do you do? How do you face it? Well, positive, with positivity. And you go to your Lord and you pray and you pray. What do I do? Well, the Lord was making it clear to me, believe it or not, to go across the street to see Sylvia. Sylvia was 81 years old at the time, and she had had cancer twice, and she had prayed, and she didn't have cancer anymore. And she did everything they said. And back then, there wasn't that great of a success rate back then, and that I knew of. And we kind of thought it was great how she came through it. And she was having her prayer time. She had her prayer time every day about, I think it was between 10 and 12. And she'd be in there praying, but she wouldn't come to the door. And I think she said to me, I'll talk to you later after prayer time, okay? And so I came back over after 12 o'clock, and I said, Sylvia, something just happened, and we love Sylvia, She was like a mentor to us in a lot of different ways. And what do we do with this situation? I mean, look what you came through. How did you do it? And she said, you can't outgive the Lord. And I said, what does that mean? You can't outgive the Lord. And later on, a phrase came up again. Don't let the devil steal your joy. Don't let the devil steal your joy. Well, what does that mean? I mean, I wanted to have joy in everything, but the person that I was just crazy about and always crazy about and always thought she was like the neatest person I'd ever met in my life, she was given a really bad doctor's visit, we'll put it that way. And I didn't know if it was going to progress and get worse or whatever. She said, you thank the Lord for her walking. You thank the Lord for her talking. You thank the Lord for how she loves the Lord. You thank the Lord. And we went down through that. And that's about we got into healing and all the healing verses that there are and reciting that and reading about a man named Norval Hayes. And we started looking at this whole thing different. And we kept on with what was joyful and what was funny. And we tried to live a normal life. And for years, she started going to remission right away. And it was like she didn't even have anything. And we thought that God cured her. And then a bad bout came up. And then we thought God cured her again. And with the prognosis that we had a prognosis of that she wouldn't be around maybe all that long. Well, she's been around since then. She's been around 41 years. And she gets around and she does things. And she has this walkabout thing that she walks with. And she does just fine. And our life's pretty normal, pretty funny, and full of joy. Full of joy. Things aren't like what we wanted them to be, and things aren't like when they started out. But you know what? There's a union there, and we love each other. And we love our family. Our family loves us. And we have joy. We have joy. And when you see a lot of people in the world, and you say to yourself, well, they seem to have everything. And then you hear a terrible story about them. And the silliest thing of all, well, do you have joy? My father used to look at me and he'd go, well, how's everything working out? And I'd say, well, what do you mean? Life. How's everything working out? And I'd say, well, and then he'd tell me. Now, Dad was funny. Dad, every time something went wrong or something was right or whatever happened, he'd find something to make him laugh, and he'd say, hey, Lupe, come here. And my mother'd come over there. He'd say, look at this. And then they'd laugh, and that's how they got through life, through all the ups and downs. So they gave me training that I didn't know about, and I've went through life trying to find things that make me laugh, that make me joyful. There's certain songs that make me joyful, and I play those songs, and I might start the morning out. And I'd start the morning out being thankful and thanking God that I've still got my wife and my family's okay and my family's doing all right. And being thankful. But what about the joy? What do you do? What do you do to find joy? You see, if you really think about it, we all need faith, hope, and love. And with hope, we're always looking forward to things that are going to get better. It's the greatest expectation of good. Hope is the greatest expectation of good. And everybody wants to talk about love. And everybody will say to you also, well, how you doing? How you been? How's everything? But very few people will look up to you and they'll say, are you happy? Do you have joy? If you don't have joy, you need to go out and look for it. And it's hard for a Christian to walk around that doesn't have joy. Because joy comes from peace. And joy is something in life that you can hold on to it. What do I hold on to? Let me share a story with you. We had, because I want to be joyful. I choose to be joyful. This is how I made it through life. I don't know about the guy down the street or the woman around the corner or the pastor preaching up at the big church. I don't know about all that. But what I do know, this is what I have done through my life. This is one of the things that I've done. When I was a senior, we finally had a pretty good football team. And we were going to play this team that was rated number 1 in the district. And it was exciting. It was very exciting. And of course, it was nothing to nothing, you know? And we had a guy that played for us. Everybody had nicknames, and everybody called him Turtle. And what happened that night, I ended up preaching on that for years now, and it's called the Night of the Turtle. Well, Turtle was about 6'3", and he was about 245, 50 pounds. And he shaved his head, and everybody called him Turtle, and he'd just kind of chuckle about it. A lot of people didn't even know his name. They just thought his name was Turtle. That's what it seemed like. And the little kids all called him Turtle. Well, on this one night that we were playing football against this really good team, the quarterback ran over to the side and he threw a pass. And out of nowhere, Turtle was a lineman. Turtle jumped up in the air and he intercepted this pass. His hands must have been 11 feet in the air. And he intercepts his pass. I didn't say he couldn't jump. He just was called Turtle. He wasn't that fast. But then he did an amazing thing. He broke through the line, and the quarterback that threw the pass, he hurdled him. And everybody went nuts in the stadium. And our whole side was screaming and jumping up and down, and they were chanting, Turtle, Turtle. And he runs 55 yards for a touchdown. And to this day, when I get together with the guys, we see each other, I said, you remember that night of the Turtle? And they all start giggling. They all start smiling. They said, man, Turtle could move that night. And they go, yeah. And I think back on that. And we went on to win because it changed everything. The other team couldn't get their balance after that. And we started pouring the points on them. They couldn't catch up. They were completely blindsided by it. The quarterback wasn't the same through the rest of the game. I mean, he was getting it together by the end of the game, but it was too late. We won the game. And we attributed that game mostly to Turtle. And out of all the fun things that I did in high school, even though he did it, that's one of the most fun things I was ever part of. The Night of the Turtle. Somebody else's joy, somebody else's success, but that was all right. I was there. I was part of it. And then the kids would come up after that, and they would go at the different games. They go, Turtle, Turtle, and he'd go over and they'd say, how you doing? And they'd want to talk to him and stuff, and he'd talk to him for a little bit. Or he'd be going through the gymnasium, and the younger kids would all want to come over and see him. I mean, he was already a pretty good ball player, but it was that night, you know. And that night was so amazing that it always makes me smile or laugh or giggle or want to tell the story to somebody else because it shouldn't have happened, but it did. I mean, it was almost supernatural. Supernatural. I look for memories like that. When I talk about my wife and the situation that she had, and I see her today still alive and moving around and with me on everything and holding court and telling me what to do and everything, and I start to chuckle. It makes me happy. It gives me joy to see her. What gives you joy? You need to find it. It's really important that you find your joy in life. Maybe it's fishing. I don't know. Maybe it's boating. I don't know. Maybe working in an orphanage. See, I don't know what your joy is. I know what my joy is. And I know I hunt down my joy and I hold on to my joy and then I think about it. And then I share my joy with my grandsons. What do you think of this? We laugh. Then I share it with my daughter. Hey, guess what happened? You know, hey, listen to this. Because I know money's important. And I know being successful is important. And I know that there's women out there and they've been married 3 times and they've been cheated on 3 times and it's awful. And I know that there's men out there and they love their mother and they love their grandmother and they passed away and things just haven't been the same. Don't let the devil steal your joy. Find the things in life that really make you happy and not just money, not just achievements. When you think about money and you think about joy, you must remember this story. It'd be good if you remembered this story. There was a man who was very successful. And at a young age, he had accomplished much, but he just fell over and he died. And his son and his wife came to the funeral, and everybody was there. And the little boy says to his mother, "How could this happen to Daddy? How could this happen to Daddy? He always seemed like he knew what to do, and he was always in control. How did this happen to Daddy? And he was healthy. What happened, Mom?" And she said, "Son, your father was like a spinning top, and he spun and he spun, and one day he just spun himself out. I'm sorry. We're going to be okay." Well, financially, yeah, they're going to be okay. And he dropped over from a heart attack at a young age, though he had accomplished much. But where was this joy? Where was this joy? Go out and find your joy. It's very important. And the things that you think are important, break it down. Maybe that's not what's important. Maybe it's being on the floor and playing Monopoly and some games with your kids. Maybe it's playing ball in the backyard with your son or your grandson. Maybe it's singing songs with your wife and your family at the piano. I have no idea. But find your joy, not your money, not your silver, not your gold. Find your joy. Well, this is how I got through it. And this is how we've handled things. And Sylvia made an impression on me. And then we started studying healing a lot. And we learned a lot. And we got closer to God. And see, that's given me a lot of joy too. Because when you're with somebody and they get better and they weren't supposed to, that's joy. Well, these are my thoughts.